Well, it seems that we are live. So, welcome to South Korea. We are in Daegu. It is 5 a.m. I'm jet lagging, and so I thought I would take you all on a morning walk with me through parts of Daegu, parts of Korea that are never quiet except at this time of day. So, hence, sorry, my gimbal is behaving badly. That are otherwise never quiet, but they are quiet now. So if you have any questions, pop them in the chat. I am basically a travel expert. I've been traveling my whole life. Some of you know me as the Creative Contessa, and I have been traveling internationally for more than 30 years all over the world through various modes of transport. And so I'm happy to share my expertise with you. Good morning, my condottiero. Lovely to see you. We're now crossing through the underground area. Good midday, Susan, welcome. We're now crossing through the underground area. And I was wanting to play with something here. No, I should have played. If I were going to play with it, I should have played with it a little while ago. I was thinking about if I can use both cameras at the same time, the front facing and the back facing. I can probably do that, but I would have had to add a source. I don't think I can do that now. Oh, wait. Nope. Let me see. Extra camera. Oh, apparently I can. Well, okay, I can. I figured out how to do it. Look at that. Okay. Interesting. What do we all think of this split view? Let me know, guys. We're now heading up from the underground that we use in Korea heavily. When you encounter an underground stop, it's the best way to cross the street. That's any big city, by the way. Metro stops are fantastic ways to get around waiting for traffic lights. Also, way safer ways to cross the street than crossing the street. Okay. Back to the chat. Okay, so yeah, guys, let me know what you think of the split camera view. I can, of course, switch to just me or just front view, get me out. But I noticed that the algorithm favors it if there's a person's face in the camera than if there's not a person's face in the camera, as annoying as that is. So basically, at this point, the only people awake are jet laggers like me, or people who have left the clubs, because the clubs are mostly still going. They will basically keep going until well past dawn. There will be a lot of people singing horrible karaoke who think that they sound mellifluent instead of like a dissonant rhinoceros being chased by a semi-truck. So yeah, welcome to Korea. This is Daegu. Daegu is currently, I think, the 4th largest city. And in Korea, everyone might have slipped to 5th. It is the old money city of Korea, though. So it is a place where a lot of the rich families have their bases of operations for the family, even if the businesses have all moved up to Seoul. Samsung is originally from Daegu, for instance. And one of the things I love about jet lag when I come here is that it makes me wake up in the middle of the night, and then I can enjoy walks like this when everyone's asleep. Hello, kitty. Hello, beautiful baby. It's okay. So you see that her ear is clipped? Maybe not. You see that her ear is clipped? So that means that she has been captured and spayed and then returned to the wild. So that's a program they have here in Korea. I am originally from the United States. I have lived abroad most of my life at this point, though. So yeah, The last 11 years, I've spent roughly 8 of them in Korea. And at the level of living, not just traveling, but I travel a lot when I'm here. So yeah, I consider myself more of a citizen of the world. Yeah, kitty alert. So we just walked through one of the markets where you can actually buy traditional foodstuffs for festivals and rituals. And during the day, there's all these beautiful, they're covered now, of course, but during the day, there are all these beautiful platters of traditional Korean delicacies, handmade. And here they are all wrapped up in traditional wrapping cloths, ready to go for whatever the ceremony is, whether it's an ancestral ritual, worship ritual, or a wedding, or a 100-day birthday, or a year birthday, or first year birthday. So this is the market where people come for that. Yeolmae traditional market. And there used to be someone here who actually made and sold artisanally made, handmade gochujang and doenjang, but unfortunately, apparently, she shut her operations down. I think she retired out. Kitties. But I don't know, I love walking through these markets at night. Yeah. Well, thank you, Yash. I appreciate that compliment. I love Korea at nighttime when it's all quiet and peaceful. I mean, I know some people love chaos. It's not my favorite state of being. I prefer the quiet. I prefer the peace. You can actually hear frogs. You can hear crickets at this time. It took me a little longer to get here than I thought it would, so we might not have as much of the peaceful time as I would hope. So some people have been asking me for travel tips, and especially for flying long distance in economy class. And one of the most important things about economy class flying is, on a long haul flight, is getting some sleep, so that when you arrive at your destination, you're not just completely dead. So economy class has the problem, of course, that the seats don't lie flat. They only recline a little bit, don't have very much legroom necessarily. So you need to kind of create your own comfort levels, right? So especially if you're flying to Korea, bring a neck pillow. A neck pillow is going to completely change your whole experience. You're going to be so much more comfortable with your head supported, even if you can't recline your seat very much, right? Another thing other than the neck pillow is to actually get one of these masks that covers your whole face, in fact, and it keeps you moisturized so you don't desiccate in the night while you're sleeping. So I highly recommend, I forget what they're called, but if you look up airplane hydration mask or something like that, it actually covers your whole face and it covers your mouth. It allows you to breathe, but it keeps you from desiccating. And dehydration is a big contributor to jet lag. So, and that's why actually during the pandemic, when I was wearing a mask all the time on my flights, I noticed I arrived at my destination much more hydrated because the mask actually kept me from desiccating while sleeping or even just while breathing. So during the day, this is actually the traditional medicine district, Oriental medicine. Daegu was actually is the capital of Oriental medicine in Korea. And this entire neighborhood was historically, we're now in the old city. We're now in Downtown Daegu, the historic old city. And so this entire neighborhood is filled with Oriental medicine apothecaries, where you can actually go and procure the raw ingredients for Chinese medicine. Well, what we in English call Chinese medicine, but is definitely not just Chinese medicine. Now, they are slowly going away as younger generations are moving away from Oriental medicine, and this neighborhood is being filled with cafes and restaurants in lieu of the apothecary shops. So like this, for instance, this used to be an apothecary and it's now a Vietnamese restaurant, which has decent Vietnamese food, but it's Vietnamese food that's been adjusted for Korean tastes. So just like in America, it's hard to get Chinese food unless you live in the right parts of the United States. In Korea, you're going to get Asian food that has been adjusted for local tastes. Yeah. I am not walking to where I am staying. I'm just taking a nice walk out and about because it's just such a beautiful evening. So, of course, there were missionaries came here at the end of the 19th century and set up a variety of churches. This is the Presbyterian church that was built in the Old City, and this was actually built in 1893. And it's rather remarkable, or maybe not 1893, sorry. Looks like it was built in around 1900. It's remarkable that it survived the Korean War because not much survived the Korean War. Yeah. Susan says, on economy class long haul flights, what about not getting blood clots in the legs? Oh, yeah, good question. Thank you, Susan. So if you are flying to, say, a beautiful place like Korea, this is the old YMCA, by the way, what we're looking at, built in about 1900. Then you want support stockings, compression stockings, right? Get compression hosen. Compression hose, is what they call them in English. Get compression stockings, medical grade, 20 to 30 at least minimum. And I forget what that measurement is, but it's basically the pressure it applies. And the medical grade compression stockings will prevent blood clots. And they will also prevent your legs from swelling, which is a big bonus. So they'll prevent your legs from swelling. They'll prevent your feet from swelling. You'll arrive, your legs will not feel heavy and tired on the flight. And of course, they will prevent clots. So compression stockings for long flights anywhere, highly recommended. Also, if you're out and about flying and, winging your way across the world, you want to make sure you get up every hour or so and walk around the flight. If you're not actually sleeping, if you're awake, get up every hour or so and just walk up and down the aisles. You can do that in economy class. You've got nice long aisles. And so just get up, walk around, do some stretching, go to one of the bulkhead areas, like where the flight attendants sit, and do some stretching, do some squats. Sometimes in the bathrooms, there's enough room to maybe get some minor squat exercising in. If you can find a spot, do some push-ups, try to stay active on long haul flights. That will also prevent clots. And you'll arrive just feeling so much better. I just love walking down these little narrow alleyways. These sorts of neighborhoods are vanishing in Korea. They're being bought up and then torn down and redeveloped into nice looking high-rise apartment complexes, but they're a little soulless, right? These little neighborhoods still have, this is how Korean neighborhoods were for hundreds of years, except with different kinds of architecture than this. But still, these winding little alleys, I think, are the best. Sorry if I missed any questions. Yeah, so I really just love. And if you walk down these alleyways, especially in Korea, then you'll find beautiful art like this that actually, reflects traditional. This is Minhwa style painting. So this is traditional Korean style painting, and it's, has these very traditional Korean motifs, all of these auspicious creatures, and, some of them cutified, like those kitty cats, question mark? I don't know what those are supposed to be. I've got nothing. So yeah, when you're out and about, always go down the tiny little alleyways. If you're walking in any place, get off of the main streets and just wander the back alleyways. And yes, some people have asked, is Korea safe? Korea is a very safe country. So yes, you don't have to worry about, violent crime here is very low. You're very unlikely to be attacked or assaulted as a tourist. And, I feel super safe here. I'm all alone out and about in, Friday night to Saturday, basically. And I have no qualms about being here. Right. Just love these little alleyways. So when you're out and about, get off the beaten path, get off the main roads, go into the back alleys and explore them. Hotzi, welcome. I'm not certain what you're trying to say, but all that's coming through is a dot. Let's go away from the trash truck. This is also, unfortunately, the time of day when the trash trucks come out. So there's that. So other tips for traveling. When you're in Korea, you don't need a car. People keep asking me, do I need a rental car? You really don't. You could, public transit here is fantastic. Taxis are inexpensive and ever present. And you can use, Uber works here now too, by the way. You can now use Uber to call taxis, but they also have Kakao Taxi, their own native taxi app. It's cheaper to use Kakao Taxi, by the way. The price on Uber is more expensive. I tested it. So taxis are always inexpensive in Korea, especially compared to anywhere in Europe and anywhere in the US. So, you can go, I don't know, several miles for about $7 in a taxi. Whereas, in the US, you can go several miles for about $30. So you will not need a rental car. All you will need is yourself. And of course, if you're walking, don't bring your passport out with you. Bring a copy of your passport, but leave your passport securely back in your lodgings. Because first off, no one's going to ask for your passport here. No one. Police aren't going to stop you and ask for your papers. That's not going to happen in Korea. But secondly, and perhaps more importantly, if you lose your passport, then you're going to have to make a trip up to the embassy in Seoul to get an emergency replacement. And I've done that. I've done the emergency replacement process in Germany. And it's a little frustrating because there's only so quickly they can move and get you a new passport. So it's better not to lose it. It just is. Yeah. Comment. YMCA used to be code for my parents taking me to vaccination centers back when I used to live in India. Abominable. Oh, wow. YMCA was code I guess the YMCA were maybe, I'm sorry, it's a little too dark for you to see. This is one of the prettiest spots downtown. Well, I'm not going to bother talking about it then. Oh, hello, kitty. I thought you were a statue. There's a non-statue kitty sitting there. Oh, it's a kitten. Oh, it's kittens, plural. You can't see them. I'm sorry. So apparently that's a mommy kitty back there and her babies are here. Okay. So Korea does have a stray cat population, but they need stray cats. They need neighborhood cats because cats keep the rodent population down. And anyone who thinks cities in America don't have rodents, I direct you to New York. And Pizza Rat, right? So the cats are actually a functional part of society here. And the Koreans take care of them. They put food and water out for them. And there are people who set out kitty traps so that they can actually spay as many kitties as they can possibly catch. But of course, you can't catch them all. So there are still populations of mommy kitties and baby kitties. And it is kitten season. The kittens have reached kind of tween status here, but there is an increasing awareness of animals like cats as not just a tool for human society, but as, fellow sentient beings who deserve love and kindness. So many cafes and restaurants here, and I'm sweeping around to see if I see any, but I don't, will actually set up like little kitty tents and kitty condos and put out really nice quality food for the cats. And you can always tell when it's feeding time because the stray cats will array themselves around their respective human servitors and then start meowing when it's time for food. They know when it's time. They all know. Let's go down this little lane. Yeah, yes, and yes, everyone, if you're enjoying, don't forget to hit that thumbs up. If you double tap the screen, that will do that. Also consider subscribing or following me, depending on the platform from which you're watching this. See, so this is the historic district in Daegu. And Daegu actually didn't suffer horribly in the war from destruction because Daegu is actually surrounded by mountains. It's a natural fortress. And so it actually did pretty well for itself during the war in terms of level of things that needed to be rebuilt. So there are actually still here downtown, well, there used to be a lot more traditional historic Korean buildings like the one we see up here coming up. So this neighborhood, what you might not see these traditional buildings, these hanok though, because they tend to be hidden behind high walls. Now this one, the walls have been torn down, the building's been restored, and so you can actually see how really neat it looks, right? It's basically timber frame, just like in Germany you have Fachwerk. So yeah, walking downtown here in Daegu, you can actually get into the historic parts of the city. Question: local renters are quite affordable anywhere in Asia, but they tend to rip off foreign nationals. How much of that have I experienced in my travels? So my tip for that, Yash, that's a very good question. Thank you for bringing that up. Depends on where you are and which country you are. In Italy, horribly. Oh my God, not just Asia. In Italy, the taxi drivers will rip you off something fierce. And it's a known problem. And Rome really, for example, Rome especially, Rome really needs to do something about it. It's not so bad in Florence, but Rome, really bad. In Korea, when we first got here, it used to be more of a problem, but all you have to do is force them to turn on the meter. Here in Daegu, I've never experienced that though. The taxi drivers here, very honest, in my personal experience. In Seoul, we've actually had problems with taxi drivers not accepting us as passengers. And that was shocking. And my Korean friends who heard about that were equally shocked. So yeah, tip is when you get a taxi, first off, make sure it's an official taxi. There will be, depending on your country, official taxi insignia on the vehicle. They'll have the taxi sign on top. So don't just get into any car, which I know that sounds obvious, but for new travelers, maybe not so much. And then insist before they go that they turn that meter on. And if they don't turn the meter on, then you force them to pull over and get out, and you do not pay them, right? Oh yeah, there was a lot of, I'm not going to walk towards the trash truck. It's going to be loud and annoying. We'll go this way. Yeah, always insist on the meters. Yep, Yash, in Thailand as well. I haven't done taxis in Vietnam, so I can't speak for Vietnam at all. So in Thailand and in certain countries, they have the equivalent of the Uber app, and that has completely streamlined things. So in Thailand, they have Go, right? Or excuse me, the Grab app, not Go, sorry. I was thinking Grab and Go. They have the Grab app. So, depending on what country you're going to, look up taxi app. And if there is one, get it. And then that's going to take care of everything, because with the Grab app in Thailand, which just like Uber also, provides you with food. It's your food delivery service. Everything is handled, payment is handled through the app. It's all extremely regulated. You will never get ripped off. And, like I said, here in Korea, we have the Kakao Taxi app. Now there you can choose pay the driver. If you do that option, then you're going to once again have to deal with make sure they turn the meter on, but I've never had a problem with that in Korea. Okay, so I wanted to show you all this amazing building here. This is a Starbucks. This gorgeous, historically built masterpiece of Hanok architecture. Hanok means actually Korean building. This is a Starbucks, and it was built here. There were some buildings kind of like that one over there, that sad little white one. And basically Starbucks bought this or leased this plot. And I don't know if they worked a deal with the city to get permission to put a Starbucks here. And the part of that deal was building this beautiful building. But this is the most popular Starbucks in Korea, hands down, with good reason, because it's just like this on the inside too. It's not just, it's not a question of, oh, it's got a beautiful outside, but inside it's modern. No, no, no. Not only is the inside, I wonder if the side doors are open. Not only is the inside not modern, but they have a second building in the back here. The doors aren't open, but I can show you anyway. They have a second building in the back here. It's beautiful. Look at the sweep of that roof. Ah, just stunning. And this building has floor seating, traditional floor seating for a traditional tea experience. Korea is historically a tea country, but of course, coffee is now super popular here, and you're more likely to find coffee shops than tea shops by a factor of 1,000 to 1. No exaggeration, but still. You can, one of the best and easiest places, honest to God, one of the best and easiest places in Korea, if you want tea and if you want Korean green tea grown in Korea, produced in Korea, Starbucks is your baby because Starbucks has Jeju Nokta, Jeju green tea that is out of this world good. In pyramid bags, whole leaf, most cafes don't have that. Most cafes have some really not great bagged tea. If you're going to go to a cafe, trying to find a proper tea house in Korea is really hard, especially if you get outside of the historic areas. Coffee shops, no problem. Koreans are coffee junkies. Yeah, Starbucks tea in Korea is top notch. It is, if you want quality tea in Korea, you're more likely to get it at Starbucks than any other coffee shop, any other cafe. And I know that sounds so counterintuitive to what everyone knows about chain restaurants and chain establishments, but Korean Starbucks is really amazing, and they localize their drinks, so they have all these coffee options too that are you don't get anywhere else except for Korea. They're catered to Korean tastes. So yeah, the Jeju Island green tea is indeed absolutely delicious. It really is. To get off of this main road. I mean, yeah, you can tell there's not much traffic right now, but still, I definitely prefer to walk through the little aisles. So Koreans are big fans of showing you what it is they sell in their shop. So there's going to be pictures of the foodstuffs that they offer nearly always. So you can decide just based on the picture whether it's something you want to try or not. And they're also, if you go to Korean restaurants, often you'll see pictures like this, which are basically stills from some TV show that filmed here. And any restaurant that's ever had Korean Broadcasting Company or KBS, whatever, come through and do a show at their place, they'll want to make you, they'll alert you, they will tell you. Let me see. They should have that uniqueness across the world. Franchises like Starbucks, that is. Yeah, Yash, agree 100%. And some, I will say that some do, in fact. But I want to pause here and show you what is like, this is a Starbucks, or not Starbucks, this is almost like the Korean version of the Subway. They do have Subways here in Korea, but this is kind of like, it's called Salady, and it's what Subway could be if they cared, because they've got salads, make your own salad, they've got make your own poke bowls, they've got noodle bowls, they've got sandwiches that are basically subs if you look at them, they've got wraps, you can get protein boxes here. So it is a chain, but it's a good chain. So if you're out and about in Korea and you're looking for, something that's really heavy on the greens and the protein, and not so heavy on sauces and rice, then Salady is a really good choice for you. Oh, it's not mirrored. Let me see if I can mirror that. Sorry, everyone. I didn't realize that we weren't mirroring, or we were mirroring. So you can actually read. You can actually read the words, maybe. Settings, video. Don't do that. Okay. So that should now read like English. Oh, wrong camera. Okay, it's not letting me play with the front camera. Sorry, everyone. All the writing is going to be backwards. I swear we have not fallen into a backwards dimension. Oh, little kitty. Hey, little baby. Oh, it's okay, little baby. Hi. Good morning. You want me to pet you? Oh, no. Do you want me to pet you? Oh, you're expecting me to feed you, aren't you? Oh, I don't know if you all could hear the kitty meowing. It's okay, baby. It's okay. Come on. Oh, it's okay. Sorry, I didn't bring any food with me. Yeah, I know I'm a failure as a human servitor. Oh, Castella bread. Castella bread. Did someone bring up Castella bread? Castella bread is, and basically it's an imported sweetbread, egg-based, yeast-raised sweetbread from Portugal that came to Korea via Japan, and came to Japan, as far as I know, back in like the 17th century, before Japan shut itself down to foreign influence. Right? Castella bread in Daegu is extremely popular, and there's a couple of very good Castella bread bakeries. One of them is so popular that if it's in the market in Salmon Market, and I'm going to do, once it's not so brutally hot, I'm going to do a salmon market tour, but temperatures this summer have been obscene during the day when the market is open, and I'm just not excited about being there when it's 100 degrees Fahrenheit with thousands of other people. Anyway, Castella bread is this sweet, eggy, light custard-like bread, and it's baked in these giant sheets. And at Salmon Market here in Daegu, they've got a Castella bread bakery that's been baking for decades, and they literally always have a line around the block waiting for the freshly baked loaves of Castella bread from this bakery. I've done live streams. If you want to check it out on my Travels with the Contessa channel, I have done live streams from the market before, and we did capture the making of Castella bread and the cutting of Castella bread. If you want to check that out, if you don't want to wait for my next live stream, because my next live stream in that market is going to be weather dependent. I don't know why, but I think there's only a night market once a week there. Maybe I'll look and see what the schedule is, and I'll do the night market. Because right now it's quite pleasant. It's humid, but it's pleasantly cool. Yeah, see, and here is basically a bar. But remember, in Korea, and let me see, soju, gotonga, okdonggui, with barbecue. So, you don't just, in the traditional Korean way, you don't just drink. You drink with food. So, a place like this, people will sit for hours and they'll keep ordering food and they'll keep ordering drinks and they'll just keep drinking until, pretty damn late at night. Mansion 15. So this is a traditional, I think this is not a reconstruction. This is a hanok that was restored. You see back there in the beautiful courtyard. One of these hanok, like I said, that was hidden behind these walls for years. And it was restored, and now it's a cafe or a restaurant. I don't remember what Mansion 15 is. Let's see. Tea House, empathize with us. I don't know. I don't know what that is. Empathy. Interesting. Oh, noraebang. So there's flashing lights there. That is noraebang. That is what in English we call karaoke, because we got that word from the Japanese. But of course, Koreans are huge fans of singing in front of friends and embarrassing themselves while drinking. And that is noraebang, which literally means singing room. And that means you get your own private room. So it's not out there in front of a group of people. Now, nore hall, a singing hall, would be you in front of everyone else singing. So if you want the privacy of a private space, private room where you can just embarrass just yourself in front of only yourself, noraebang. And some of those noraebang are very nice. It's a very nice room, very comfortable, beautifully appointed, can order drinks and food. And, Koreans will just spend an evening. Okay, speaking of food, foreign food, let's see if I can get it to focus. Yeah, so foreign food here in Daegu is an increasing presence. So this is a Mexican place called Habanero and Habanero Taco. And so they've got, sort of typical Tex-Mex, really, fajitas and soft taco burritos and tacos. So, you're not going to necessarily find the authentic versions of any of these foods, but you will find, if you get tired of Korean food when you're in Korea, in most of the big cities like this, in all of the big cities like this, it's very easy to find alternatives. I love karaoke. I don't have friends, so I don't go to karaoke, but I do have great embarrassing times with myself. Yeah. Like I said, noraebang for the win. If you want to just embarrass yourself in front of only yourself, Korea has you covered, baby. Other travel tips for Korea. Groceries, fresh produce is insanely inexpensive here, and there are a lot of elder ladies sitting on the side of the street during the day with little produce stands. So you'll need cash for that. But restaurants and stores, almost everything here is credit card operated. Almost no one pays cash. inside actual proper establishments. And God knows, probably in 10 years, those adzuma, those ladies are probably going to have cashless payment methods on their phones, because a lot of them are pretty connected. Yeah. So credit cards work just fine here. ATMs can be tricky. You need to look for an ATM that says global ATM. Otherwise, it might not actually access the network payment network outside of Korea. So just keep that in mind. Keep your eye open for a global ATM. A lot of convenience stores, weirdly, a lot of convenience stores weirdly have ATMs that are global. And convenience stores here actually have decent food. So if you need a quick bite and you don't feel like stopping in a restaurant and you don't feel like hunting for a restaurant, we're about to pass one. The 7-Eleven is, of course, a going concern here in Asia, in the worldwide, and 7-Elevens actually have decent kimbap in them, and they've got some other ready-made foods that are actually pretty decent and not horrible for you. So, 7-Elevens for the win. Now, also, if you are here, you're going to want a T-Money card for public transit. And a T-Money card is a chargeable, kind of a debit card that's used only for public transit. And if you get a T-Money card, then actually you can get them recharged. You can get them at 7-Eleven, GS25, CU, right? These are all convenience stores. And you can actually recharge them there as well. Now, you can only use cash, weirdly, to charge up your T-Money cards. So you'll need to have cash for that purpose as well. You can't use your credit card or even a debit card to do it. But you'll want to get a T-Money card almost as soon as you get into the country. I think they're available at the airports, and you can definitely get one. And the airports have the convenience stores, so you can definitely get a T-Money card at the airport convenience store. Oh, thank you, Yash. That's very kind of you that it brought the sunshine with me. I did. Yeah, the sun, we have dawn. Dawn is springing, as it were. Dawn breaketh. So if you look up here, in the lower screen for you all, you see that green roof, there's the roof line there. Even though it's got this really ugly white concrete wall around it, that green roof means that there is a historic home hidden back there, a hanok that has been expanded upon in the post-war era with these kind of, in some cases, haphazard additions. And what's happening is, as those homes, as the elder people who lived in those homes all these years are passing on and their heirs are inheriting these historic buildings, they're actually, modern people don't want to live in them, unfortunately, but they make fantastic cafes and restaurants. So a lot of them are now being turned into cafes and restaurants like these over here, which is actually a benefit for those of us who are traveling or visiting Korea or who don't live in one of those, because if it's a cafe or restaurant, you can go inside the historic buildings and enjoy them, instead of it being someone's private home where people get pretty upset if you generally just walk into their house. That being said, we have had fantastic experience with country hospitality here in Korea, by which I mean going to a small village, walking around and being invited into people's homes for drinks and snacks and chats. And we've especially gotten that in people when they have historic homes and we're admiring their hanok and they see us admiring it and then they invite us in. So we've had very, very positive experiences with that kind of hospitality here in Korea. It's not going to happen in the big cities. At least it's never happened to me in the big cities, but it has certainly happened in these smaller villages outside of town. So just wandering down another of these little tiny lanes, and hidden back here is a hotel. Modern, of course, but squeezed in next to a hanok here. You really have to look up to find these roof lines to figure out where the historic homes are hiding. Why does wood protruding always feel so unsettling? So up here we have a traditional gate, and this sort of marks the edge, the perimeter of the old city. So the city, if I can certain I'll be able to find a map of it somewhere here, of the historic Daegu. So these cities were all built historically according to Neo-Confucian ideals. And that means that it's a rectangle laid out in accordance with the tenets of geomancy, which means that it aligns with the cardinal directions. East, it faces south, and then lines up perfectly with east, west, and north. And ideally, it has a river flowing on one side of it, and ideally mountains on another side of it, so that the qi can flow. Daegu was built exactly like this. At least the Joseon era city was. So there's actually, if you look at, if I can find the historic city map, there's actually a sensible plan. Unfortunately, the Japanese tore down the walls when they occupied Korea at the end of the 19th century. So most of the city walls throughout Korea were torn down, the historic city walls. And so there's only one little section, not very close to here, that they rebuilt, just so you know what it used to look like, sadly. So, here you can see, even though we're in the historic district, how much was, over the years since the war especially, many of those historic buildings, they didn't used to be valued. After the war, they weren't valued at all, except that they couldn't afford to build anything else. So then, of course, when they started getting affluent, the Koreans, they started tearing down the historic buildings, the old style architecture, and building what they thought was newer and better. So that's been stopped. Hanok that are left are basically being protected increasingly, which is a fine thing. And neighborhoods like this, I don't know how long they are for this world, like with buildings like this. A lot of them are getting redeveloped, and in historic downtown areas like this, they're being redeveloped to be historic, rather than, as I showed you, that Starbucks, rather than having great massive skyscraper complexes built in them. So, but point is, neighborhoods like this in general in Korea are basically an endangered species. Yeah, necromancy and geomancy definitely have nothing to do with each other. Yeah, geomancy is taking advantage of the natural energies of the earth in your architecture. That's why in Hong Kong, for instance, they've got skyscrapers with giant holes in them so that the qi is allowed to flow through them, rather than blocking the qi and leading to all sorts of inauspicious happenings, shall we say. Yeah, Chinese food here is nearly always not very Chinese here in Korea. I've eaten at several Chinese. I'm mentioning it because we just passed a Chinese restaurant. It's not the most Chinese thing I've ever eaten. It's definitely been adapted to local tastes. It's much sweeter than Chinese food usually is, and yeah, heavier on gochu than on the kind of spicing that Chinese food traditionally uses. So all these little, these buildings, all these shops here, we're still technically in the Oriental Medicine District, but as I mentioned, there aren't many, that's a dying breed, as it were. So many of these have been turned into other things. Japanese style snack bars are really popular here. Yeah, if we'd been here a couple of hours ago, this place probably would have still been hopping. Yeah, feng shui, exactly, Susan. Geomancy is feng shui in Chinese. And I'm trying to remember the Korean term. Actually, I didn't learn the term geomancy until we came to Korea and were reading a sign about geomancy. Because, of course, the term I knew was feng shui, but that's a Chinese term. So apparently there is an English term, geomancy. So we're in the Bell District, hence that giant bell there, the Dongno. And this is where basically the curfew bells used to be located. And, just like in medieval European cities, there used to be a curfew here in Korean cities. And if you were caught out after curfew, that would be problematic for you. So not only would they shut the city gates down, everyone had to go home by a certain point, and it was a way to guarantee safety. Ugh. Koreans and their smoking habits and their desire to just throw cigarette butts on the ground. Vastu Shastra is how it all began. Yeah. So smoking in Korea is interesting and strange. So we have a very large population of smokers here, unfortunately. But Koreans are very considerate about their smoking. So they will not smoke, well, at least most of them, the ones who have manners, will not smoke while walking. They will actually smoke in the smoking corner of shame, furtively and concealing it as much as possible. My problem with Korean smokers is not that, because that's really nice of them. In America, people just smoke wherever and everyone else's health be damned. My problem is that afterwards they decide that, they can just throw their cigarette butts on the ground. And so that's especially true after a Friday or Saturday night where you have, people drinking and thinking less and less politely and less clearly. So yeah, they end up just throwing their cigarette butts on the ground. And that's unfortunate in the extreme. It's one of these complexes. Unfortunately, the chain's up, otherwise I'd go further in. I love these little cabanas they've built. So you can sit out in all weather in this courtyard and drink or eat. So what that means is that there are cigarettes just all over the place on a Saturday morning or a Sunday morning or a Friday morning or near any place where drinking happens. And I wish Koreans would get it through their heads. I wish everyone, not just Koreans, I wish all smokers would get it through their heads that cigarette butts are disgusting. They don't biodegrade. And they literally make the space, they make the space absolutely hideous. So please keep your cigarette butts and dispose them in an appropriate manner, everyone. I'll appreciate that, Yash. Yeah, and smoking in restaurants, not a thing here. Smoking in bars, also not a thing. Now, if you go into some illegal establishments, there might be smoking, like illegal gambling establishments. So I'm apparently hungry. I just passed by this barbecue place and they've got this beautiful platter of barbecue on display. This is pork belly. This is proof that God, whatever God you believe in, loves us. It's my favorite part of the pig, is the belly. And the nice thing about Korean barbecue is that it comes with all kinds of side dishes, all these yummy vegetables. So yeah, apparently I'm hungry, I guess. Let me see. They're coughing up lungs, not smoking. I've seen it. I used to work in LG. Oh yeah. Yeah, totally. Totally. It's yeah, but what's weird. Okay, so here I'll show you this disgusting smoking corner of shame here, where the smokers didn't even bother. They just threw the butts everywhere. What's really weird about it, though, cigarettes are expensive here. I mean, they're not cheap. And they will literally take 2 drags and then throw it on the ground and walk away. It's the most amazing and horrifying form of conspicuous consumption I've ever seen. Yeah, just why? Why are you doing that? I'm not that I'm encouraging anyone to conserve on cigarettes, but still, let's not be so wasteful, eh? So let's see. Kamjatang. Oh, kamjatang. This is so they, in America we have diners, right? 24-hour diners. Well, they've got that here too. But they're not diners like Western diners, they're Korean diners. And so if you see a place that has a little 24-hour, that little red 24-hour up there, I'm trying to get hit as I cross the road, that means it's a 24-hour establishment. And these places especially cater to the partiers, right? They do also cater to people who work, late nights and strange hours. But the food is always decent at these places. So you can see, kamjatang, like a kind of stew. Excuse me, a pork backbone. Kamja is the backbone of the pig, right? And it's spicy and all that. You've got all these kind of soup, stew options, noodle options, and they all come with some combination of banchan. I myself, this is suyuk. I love suyuk. It's another braised part of the pig. Not as good as pork belly. Posam, it's better, but suyuk isn't bad. So yeah, if you're out and about and it's late and you're hungry or you're jet lagging, then you just have to find one of these 24-hour places. Iwitlun Kamjatang. Yeah. And the post party night cleanup is commencing here. Look, it's either tourists or drunk Koreans having their picture taken in front of a bar. Oh goodness. Okay. Coffee. If you are a coffee in the morning kind of person, the only place you're going to be able to find it is a convenience store. And then you'll probably only be, well, they probably have hot coffee too, actually. Koreans do not view coffee as a first thing in the morning experience in the sense of, hitting a cafe on your way to work, to the office. So cafes don't open here until usually 10, 11, or noon. They are considered afternoon and evening social places. So if you need your morning coffee, you might want to make arrangements before the morning comes to make sure you have access to said coffee, which is why, hotels have coffee fixing stations. So you can make your own coffee before you head out for the day. I think that's, for Westerners, that's a particularly shocking realization that they can't go to a Dia or to someplace or Starbucks at 6 o'clock in the morning and get a nice espresso. So, yeah. We get off of the main road here. Korea's coming to life slowly, so. Did not bring a parasol, nor did I sunblock my arms. Might have to eventually. I hadn't actually counted on being out still at this point. Thought I would have been home by now or heading home by now. So that's on me. Yeah. Any chance of hookah bars in Korea? Well, hookah in what sense? There are hookah bars, but you're not smoking anything more than, basically vaping. So no. I guess it depends on what you expect out of your hookah experience. For those who don't know, marijuana is highly illegal here, like highly, highly illegal. So if you are coming to Korea and you have some kind of marijuana need, it's not going to happen here. You can find it illegally, but if you get caught in purchasing drugs or, God forbid, dealing drugs, the penalty is pretty painfully steep. So don't do it. Just don't do it. And yes, of course, obviously, in any country where drugs are illegal, there's always a black market. And in some countries, the consequences for engaging in that black market are steeper than others. So here, what's interesting is they have all throughout the city peppered, especially in the construction areas, they actually have historic pictures of the city from 100+ years ago. So you can see how Daegu looked, way back when. What's interesting is that, and I can't really see if I can show you. Oh, I forgot you can't actually read it because it's mirrored, but it's Taekyu. And so it's the Japanese spelling of Daegu because Japanese occupied Korea from about 1895. I mean, they controlled it, they officially occupied it from 1905 until 1945, but the influence certainly started before that. Yeah. I mean, if you watch K-drama, you're going to know there's a black market, right? I mean, there's all kinds of gangs here. There's Chinese gangs, there's Russian gangs, there's Uzbek gangs, there's Taiwanese gangs, there's Japanese gangs, there's Korean gangs. I mean, it's anytime any saleable good is illegal, a black market arises for it and a gang system forms to sell it. That's kind of human nature, and that has been happening for hundreds of years in any place where any kind of commodity that people desire is made illegal. Some places like Singapore have managed to make the penalties stiff enough that people will generally not risk their neck literally for it, but most places don't have those kinds of draconian laws that would actually truly completely extinguish such a black market. Now, how you can get in touch with those illicit sales channels, I have no idea. Not my world. I'm not interested in any of the things they're selling, so you'll have to go elsewhere for that information. Yeah. The only time I've seen pot smokers in K-dramas is there's this one called The Glory. It's about a series of high school bullies who actually finally get their just desserts handed to them by their victim. And there they engage in things like pot smoking. And it's definitely presented as something that only reprobates do. The message is clear. The message is very clear. So the other thing they have here in downtown are actual locally made fashion. So this is not mass produced. It's designed and made by local seamstresses or tailors, sewists, and sold here. And so, it's going to be more expensive than if you had just gone to any, department store, although not more expensive than if you go buy Coco Chanel from the Hyundai department store, for instance, but more expensive than if you go to any regular store in the US. But honestly, I am of the mindset that you should buy fewer things, quality things made by a local craftsman, spend a little more on each item, have it last much longer than just engage in this death spiral of consumption that we've been encouraged to pursue. So it's always worth, looking up. I always tell people when you travel, because if you look even just a little bit up, you can find cool architecture like this, where they've just settled on this very interesting decorative motif. And this is katsu and izakaya. So izakaya is like the Japanese snack bar kind of thing. And then katsu is, of course, the cutlets, tonkatsu, right? Katsu is very popular here in Korea. And it was introduced by the Japanese, and that doesn't matter. They love it. In fact, I recently took a package tour of Japan, a weekend, overnight 24-hour deal, 36-hour deal with a Korean tour company. And their idea of traditional Japanese cuisine as part of our package was katsu, was cutlets. And very disappointing because the island, we went to Daemado, Tsushima, and they have definitely more interesting cuisine than freaking breaded cutlets, which aren't Japanese even originally either. Can you buy traditional dress from the Joseon period? So Susan, that's a great question. It is increasingly possible to actually buy Joseon style hanbok because the K-dramas have made that popular. So what's now available if you go to, say, Salmon Market, we're back here, so you can actually see it with the kitties. So, here are the babies. So if you go to Salmon Market, and you go to the hanbok section, you look at the catalogs, they increasingly have, at the very least, inspired by Joseon era styles. Might not be, it wouldn't pass, the sort of reenactment test, at least it wouldn't pass my reenactment test, but it has the lines and the general layers of the Joseon era, well, some of the layers of the Joseon era clothing. Can you get historically accurate on average? No. You'll have to go to a very specialty maker because Korea is just sort of now waking up to the value of historical authenticity in its clothing. And even in terms of what you see in K-dramas is just it's as historically accurate for the most part as what you see in your average Western movie set in the Middle Ages or whatever, right? Maybe slightly more or slightly less, depending. Yeah. What's been my favorite local delicacy? Here in Daegu, for that local, if you're talking local, grilled pork rind. Oh my God, delicious. Makjang is a term that refers to the offal. So it refers to sort of the part of the pig, anything involving the stomach area of the pig. So it can also involve intestines, which I do not like. I've tried them, gave it a shot. Nope, not for me. So yeah, makjang, the specifically the skin, pork rind grilled, dipped in soybean powder. So amazing. The fat from the skin just melting into the soybean powder and making this amazing sauce that just coats the whole thing. Delicious. Yeah. I think that's my favorite local thing. Other Korean dishes that I love are dakgalbi, which is grilled marinated chicken, marinated in a sweet and spicy and savory pepper gochujang based sauce, and then that's fried up with cabbage and Asian sweet potatoes and rice dumplings, tok, and perilla leaves and green onions and carrots. And it's all fried together, and the fat from the skin of the chicken thigh just renders out into it all. And then sometimes they put cheese on top, and then sometimes you fry that all together with rice, and it's amazing. Okay, here we have Daegu baby. We have Daegu kitties, little babies. See, there's the mommy kitty. And there are her beautiful babies. She's a really pretty one too. You are beautiful. Yes, you are. There are the babies. And see, as I said, food is provided for them. So these might not be socialized kitties, but they're not completely feral either. They are taken care of. Yeah, you are pretty. Such beautiful eyes. Yeah, Korean food is super, super yummy. Let's see, other things I love. Oh, posam. My God, posam. So that is pork belly that's been braised in an enriched broth that has spices in it, and then it's braised until it literally is meltingly falling apart, and then you slice it and you eat it with leaf wraps or just on its own, dipped in various sauces. Then, of course, jokbal. Jokbal literally means leg foot. Um, and it's the foot and a specific part of the pig's back leg. And those are braised also until they fall apart, and then they're sliced. Oh, just meltingly delicious. I mean, literally meltingly delicious. All that collagen from the skin and from the joints and the foot. So good. I thought I would not like pig's feet because because of the feet part of the pig's feet. I was mistaken. 100%. Yeah, Yash asks if I have worn hanbok in videos. I have, absolutely. There's a bunch of, if you go to my Korea Travels with the Contessa, Travels with the Creative Contessa YouTube channel, you can absolutely see travel streams that I have done in historic Korean clothing. Recently, in fact, in the last year, but even longer than that. Also on my Creative Contessa channel, I have videos about historical Korean clothing. If you look up hanbok, Hanbok, you can find them on my channel. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm a big proponent of hanbok. I have a large hanbok wardrobe, and some of you may or may not know, I'm actually starting a big research project in this fall with one of the world's leading experts in historical Korean clothing, Dr. Kim, Minji Kim, and we're going to be going to museums, and I'm going to be examining historical Korean garments with my own hands, using my own eyes, and we are going to be researching them specifically for their construction techniques, for the order of operations, which layers get put together first, the stitches that are used for each layer, all of that. So I'm very excited to be starting this new research project. Let's see, other questions. Yeah, so I've got my creative focus on history and crafts and living history, and then my travel channel is for my travels. Yeah, so if you're interested in looking at my living history stuff, check out the Creative Contessa. Dawn breaks here in downtown Daegu. So now you can see the same neighborhood we walked through at the beginning, all illuminated in daylight. I will say, I feel like I do prefer pretty much any place at nighttime. Not just Korea, any place I've ever traveled in or lived in the world. There's just something magical about the cloak of night and how it hides all of the little deficits and makes everything somehow more beautiful. Oh, this is not my first time in Korea. No, not at all. Of the last 11 years, I have spent 8 of them in Korea. So no. Shoot, there was a hole there. Sorry about that, everyone. Going through the traditional market the way we came. Through it. Morning is breaking, it is. No, Korea is one of my favorite places in the world. It's a great place to travel. It's a great place to live. It's very developed and is slowly rebuilding its history because it's now affluent, so it can afford to rebuild its historical buildings. The palaces in Seoul are all being rebuilt. The historic complexes outside of Seoul are being rebuilt. And there is, the country is designed not for drivers and cars, it's designed for people to walk, to take public transit. And green spaces, parks are being built everywhere. Old neighborhoods that are not really worth saving as such are being torn down and redeveloped to be, user friendly, to be citizen friendly. The food is really good and healthy, especially if you stick to the traditional historic cuisine and you don't wander into westernized options. Unfortunately, there's now Dunkin' Donuts everywhere and all sorts of Western chain establishments that are leading to an increased incidence of diabetes. So if any of my Korean peeps are watching and listening, please stop eating Western food. It's literally going to kill you. It's not good for you at all. I mean, we have healthy food in the West, but that is not what we export generally. We generally export the garbage. We're not exporting historic dishes, rich in vegetables and healthy proteins and fats. No. We're exporting deep fried wheat, fried in industrial oils that will give you 3 kinds of cardiac disease. Soapbox off. Okay, so we're now going to cross under so at the beginning, we actually started from here. This is Panwodang, which is a major intersection in Korea and also a major underground stop. And here in Korea, they have these underground complexes of shopping complexes with tons of restaurants and all kinds of stores, cafes also. But these are also great ways to cross the street safely because you don't have to worry about getting hit by a car, which is nice. Korean drivers are aggressive. Now, I will face off with a Korean driver any day and I will dominate them by sheer force of will. But also sometimes it's best to not take your fate into your own hands just to cross the street. So here we go. There are so many of these underground shopping complexes and I frequently marvel over them. I don't understand them. I don't understand how all of these shops manage to make enough money to stay in business because there are so many stores everywhere at multiple levels, not just at street level, underground, above ground, several stories above ground. It's uncanny. So also, just so everyone knows, my battery's at 5%. So that means we're probably going to be terminating forthwith without me being able to terminate in any kind of controlled fashion. So I'd just like to thank you all for joining me today. Don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on the notification bell. I've got a couple of polished reviews coming out. I recently published my experience on my Swiss Air flight. Business class. I'm going to be putting out my experience on flying first class on Korean Air and my recent 24-hour stay at Chicago O'Hare Airport. Thank you, bad weather. I'll be publishing that video soon as well. You'll get to see what the Polaris Lounge is like if that interests you. No, not woman driver. Not women driver, me controlling Korean drivers, not women drivers, Korean drivers, not women, Korean. Korean drivers are crazy. It's like the Fast and the Furious here. I mean, seriously. Women drivers. No, but I will dominate other drivers as a pedestrian. I have a way of making eye contact and forcing them to do whatever it is I want them to do. Anyway. Yeah, so I thank you all for joining us. If you have any questions, if you're watching this as a recording, or if I didn't answer it during the live stream, then just pop those questions in the chat or in the comments, and I will always answer them. I will delete rude comments though and block anyone who leaves rude comments. So just be warned. It's okay, Yash. Yeah, Korean drivers, not women drivers. Actually, in Korea, women drivers are way better. Korean, we've had their female taxi drivers, and they are always much safer drivers than the men are. They're much less likely to take unnecessary risks. So here we're just walking through this kind of creepy, closed down shopping corridor. This thing goes on for literally half a mile. Also here in Korea, they now have these 24-hour self-service shops. Oh, there we go.